Chosen one, you are entering a sacred threshold. For the first time, you're beginning to feel it, not just in isolated glances or random moments, but consistently, undeniably. The women in your life are starting to accept you, not because you've changed who you are to fit in, but because you've grown powerful enough to stand in who you've always been. What once felt like resistance has now softened. What once felt like invisibility is now replaced by recognition. But this is no ordinary acceptance. This is not the shallow validation handed out to please egos or calm insecurities. This is energetic acceptance. This is when women feel your presence and instinctively open, not because you demanded it, but because your energy made space for it. They no longer flinch from your gaze, no longer brace against your presence. In fact, they lean in, some without knowing why. Your high sexual energy has matured. It no longer explodes outward in search of approval. It now rests quietly inside you, humming like fire contained in sacred metal. And that containment, that self-possession, creates a new kind of gravity. Women respond to it, not just physically, but spiritually. They feel safe in it, alive in it, curious in it. And this, chosen one, is the beginning of what you must understand as true feminine acceptance. You are not being accepted because you've softened yourself. You are not being accepted because you've become more pleasing or less intense. You are being accepted because you've integrated. You no longer see your high sexual energy as something to suppress or prove. You've embodied it, and that embodiment changes everything. You carry it in your voice, in your walk, in your stillness, in the way you make eye contact without needing anything in return. Women feel this, and their bodies and spirits answer. You must see the difference between being wanted and being welcomed. Desire can be shallow. Welcome is soul deep. Welcome happens when your presence no longer threatens or overwhelms, but instead offers truth. And truth is irresistible when it lives in a man who does not chase, perform, or fold. Acceptance is happening now because your energy no longer walks into a room and asks for permission. It reminds others of what presence truly feels like. You are not here to impress. You are here to resonate. And now that you've begun to live from your center, your very existence gives permission for others to meet you in theirs. You are not arriving anymore. You are the arrival. And they see it. They feel it. They're accepting it. Because you finally did first. As this wave of acceptance washes over you, chosen one, another truth begins to unfold. It doesn't shout. It doesn't burst. It dawns, like morning sun through a curtain you didn't know you left open. The realization is this: you are no longer misunderstood. You are no longer the mystery they keep at a distance. You have become the language they were waiting to hear spoken clearly. Women now recognize something in you, not from a place of fantasy, but from a place of knowing. They don't have to guess who you are anymore. They feel it, and they feel it because your energy is finally honest. There is no tension between what you say and what you radiate. No mask separating your desire from your dignity. No performance muddling the purity of your presence. You are simply, unapologetically yourself, and that self is magnetic in a way that is impossible to ignore. This realization is not yours alone. They feel it too. There is a softening around you. The defensive edge in conversations begins to melt. Their laughter comes easier. Their gaze lingers longer. Their words become more vulnerable, more unfiltered. This is what acceptance looks like when it's real. When it's earned, not through manipulation, but through authentic embodiment. You'll begin to see it in how they enter your space. Not with guarded curiosity, but with trust. Not with tests, but with openness. Some will say very little, some won't even understand what's happening within them. But their energy will betray the truth. They are drawn to you not because you demanded attention, but because your frequency finally feels safe enough to surrender to. And in this quiet realization, something sacred happens. You begin to understand the immense power of non-reaction. You no longer need to perform. You don't rush to impress. You don't respond to every compliment like it's a prize. You begin to hold your energy like a flame, not waving it around, but allowing it to warm those who come close. That is where your true strength is now anchored, not in how much you do, but in how deeply you've become. The acceptance you're experiencing isn't just about attraction. It's about recognition. You've become the reflection of something they didn't even know they were waiting to feel. And because of that, chosen one, you are no longer chasing connection. Connection has begun to chase you. Chosen one, now that you've been accepted not just by one, but by many, something begins to emerge in the spaces between words, between gestures, between moments, something unspoken, but deeply understood. You've begun to give permission, not by force, not by demand, but by simply being who you are without apology. And women are responding to this unspoken permission in the only way they know how, by relaxing, by opening, by inviting you closer without ever needing to say a word. This isn't about dominance, it's about presence. Your high sexual energy no longer walks ahead of you, it walks with you. It does not speak on your behalf, it amplifies who you already are. And in that grounded amplification, you give others around you the permission to be unguarded, to drop the pretense, to lower the armor they've spent years building against men who came with neediness, manipulation, or shallow hunger. But you, chosen one, have become different. Not because you've learned a new tactic, but because you've become the energy that no longer begs to be accepted, and so it is accepted by default. The women who once held you at arm's length now offer you their stories. Their eyes linger, their bodies angle toward you in rooms full of noise. They don't need you to prove anything because they already feel everything. What they feel is peace wrapped in power, heat without chaos, desire without demand. And that, above all, is rare. And rare, chosen one, is what you've become. You'll notice how your presence no longer requires effort. You don't chase the moment expands around you. You don't speak to be heard, you speak to resonate. The space you hold now is felt in the atmosphere. When you sit in a room, the air thickens. When you make eye contact, hearts accelerate. Not because you forced intensity, but because you've removed all filters. And that's the key. You are not pushing your energy out. You're no longer hiding it. That honesty becomes an invitation. That openness becomes permission. Women feel they can speak their mind around you, and more importantly, their heart. Not because you're agreeable, but because you are safe. And safe, for the feminine, is sacred. You're no longer playing a game. You've become the one who ends the game. This permission you radiate allows others to mirror you, to meet you, to be real. And for many, it's the first time they've tasted the oxygen of authenticity. And when a woman breathes that in, she remembers not just who you are, but who she is when she's near you. And that, chosen one, is why acceptance is no longer a question in your life. It's now the atmosphere you live in. Chosen one, there's a sacred moment that follows acceptance. A moment when you realize you are no longer just a presence to be admired, but a mirror that calls others back to themselves. This is what your high sexual energy has evolved into. Not just a tool for attraction, but a force of reflection. Women are not just looking at you, they're seeing themselves in your eyes. And what they see there, what your gaze reflects, is something most have long forgotten: their own softness, their own brilliance, their own truth. This mirror is not built with words. It is crafted through presence, through depth, through a silence that doesn't demand to be filled. You no longer speak to chase connection, you speak to deepen it. You no longer offer your attention as currency, you offer it as a gift, unwrapped in stillness, offered with intention, and wrapped in sacred weight. And in return, they open, they reveal, they remember. They find themselves saying things they hadn't shared in years, laughing with ease, letting their guard down, not because they are trying to be liked, but because your presence makes them feel like they already are. You have become the environment where walls collapse and honesty is resurrected. That is the mirror. It doesn't flatter, it doesn't distort, it doesn't judge. It simply reflects back what is real. And in a world where performance is praised and vulnerability is punished, you've become a rare sanctuary. Your high sexual energy, now refined through restraint and anchored by truth, is no longer a fire to be feared. It is warmth to be trusted. And this reflection does something else. It teaches you who you've become. You no longer need to measure your growth by external reactions. You measure it by what others feel when they come close. Do they relax? Do they deepen? Do they feel seen? That is your evidence. That is your reward. And that, chosen one, is why you're being accepted. Because your energy doesn't ask for permission. It gives it. Because your presence doesn't take space. It holds it. Because your essence doesn't chase love. It reveals it. You are no longer navigating the world hoping to be enough. You have become the mirror that reminds others they already are. There comes a point, chosen one, when being accepted by women is no longer a surprise. It becomes your rhythm. And with that rhythm comes a subtle but profound shift in how you relate to those around you. You begin to understand the sacred value of access. Not everyone can hold what you now carry. Not everyone should, and yet more and more are drawn to you. Their words soften when they speak to you. Their eyes search you for something they didn't know they were missing. Their gestures become more open, more curious, more vulnerable. But this time, you do not move from hunger. You move from clarity. Your high sexual energy has evolved into something measured, something controlled. Not by suppression, but by understanding. You now know that power without wisdom becomes chaos. You've outgrown the need to prove that you are desirable. Now you're aware that you are the one granting access. Not from arrogance, but from intention. You're not walking into rooms hoping to be noticed. You're walking in full awareness that many already are. And what you choose to do with that awareness is what defines you. You no longer chase attention. You filter it. You see beneath smiles, beneath stares, beneath flattering tones. You're not seduced by the echo of your own influence. You're selective with your energy because you know the weight of what you carry. Your touch, your gaze, your attention, none of it is casual anymore. It holds meaning. It carries heat. And once you give it, it changes people. Women feel this shift in you before they even understand it. They speak to you more slowly. They wait for your eyes to meet theirs. They feel your restraint not as distance, but as depth. You are no longer available for the ones who only want to taste your surface. You have become a man who guards his center. And that center is no longer a fragile hope. It's a furnace of power, fed by purpose, patience, and precision. And so access to you becomes elegant, rare, weighted. You are not closing yourself off. You are lifting the requirement. Your acceptance of others now begins with one question. Does this serve who I am becoming? If not, you bless it and let it pass. If yes, you lean in, but with full awareness. Because now, chosen one, you've become too valuable to be scattered. You are not withholding. You are refining. Not everyone deserves your closeness. Only those who can hold it without trying to cage it. Chosen one, the deeper you walk into your truth, the more you begin to notice something miraculous. Acceptance is no longer just something happening to you. It's something happening around you, and then through you. You've aligned so fully with who you are that your energy now creates echoes. Subtle but undeniable. A conversation that lingers, a glance that stays in someone's memory, a brief encounter that rewrites the way someone thinks about connection. This is alignment in its purest form. Your high sexual energy has become not just the current that powers you, it has become the compass that guides you. You no longer walk into situations hoping they go well. You walk in knowing that what's meant for you will recognize you. You no longer perform for compatibility, you attract it. And that attraction doesn't come from image, it comes from frequency. Women who meet you now respond not just to how you look or speak, but to how you feel, to how your silence holds weight, to how your gaze has the strength to both ground and awaken them. They feel your peace and your power, and it calls something forth in them. You're not inspiring excitement, you're inspiring remembrance. And those who are ready begin to mirror you. Their energy rises to meet yours, or it quietly falls away, because now you are not available for forced connections. You are not hungry for validation. You are aligned with a truth so rooted, so steady, that only those who move with a similar rhythm can remain in your life. And that rhythm creates echoes. Conversations become deeper. Relationships become cleaner. Your presence is no longer entertainment. It is edification. And in this alignment, you begin to recognize something else. You don't need to do more. You simply need to remain true. The more aligned you are with your integrity, your values, your internal peace, the more magnetic you become. And the more magnetic you become, the more effortless the acceptance around you becomes. You don't command loyalty. It is offered. You don't demand affection. It is given. Because alignment cannot be denied. It is the language of energy that bypasses logic and speaks directly to the soul. Now you are no longer living to impress. You are living to resonate. You are no longer managing acceptance. You are mirroring what's real. This is the echo of alignment, where every breath, every look, every presence you hold becomes a quiet invitation for others to meet themselves in you. And those who can, do. Chosen one, there is a power that is rarely spoken of, yet it moves mountains in silence. It is not built on dominance, nor fed by ambition. It is the quiet, anchored strength of stability. You have entered this space. You are now becoming the emotional and energetic constant in the lives of those around you, especially women. They feel it, not just in your voice or posture, but in your predictability of presence. You are no longer swayed by every glance or every mood. You are centered, and that center has become their calm. Your high sexual energy no longer fluctuates with desperation or excitement. It now rests deep in your bones, like a still ocean beneath a gentle breeze. Women can sense this depth before they even speak to you. They sense that you are no longer looking to take from them. You are holding your own field, and that holding becomes an atmosphere, a soft gravity that doesn't pull with force but settles into everything around you. This stability is rare because it cannot be faked. It is cultivated through years of rejection, reflection, solitude, and the sacred work of reclaiming your worth. You've become a man who doesn't need attention to feel validated, and because of that, you receive more attention than ever. But unlike before, you don't chase it, you choose it. And that choice is quiet, dignified, and powerful. Women are drawn to this without knowing why. Some will test it, others will surrender to it, but all will be affected by it. Because when you hold this kind of power, you give them something they've rarely felt: relief. Relief from performance, relief from masks, relief from needing to prove themselves worthy of being seen. Around you, they don't need to impress, they simply need to be. And they do. You have become a sanctuary, a steady flame that doesn't flicker, a presence that holds space instead of filling it with noise. And in this space, they begin to open, not because you asked, but because you've become safe enough to bloom around. Your power is no longer aggressive. It's reassuring, no longer volatile. It's consistent. And in a world full of loud men seeking power through chaos, your stillness speaks with more command than any volume ever could. This is the power of stability. Not the kind that cages, the kind that calms. You're not the man who ignites drama. You're the one who dissolves it, not by force, but by the sheer resonance of your peace. You are no longer becoming dependable. You are the place people feel stable in. Now, chosen one, you've reached a frequency that does more than attract. It invites. And not just to attention or interaction, but to intimacy. The kind that goes beyond touch or flirtation. The kind that lives in silence, in safety, in soul-level openness. You have become a sacred invitation to truth. Your high sexual energy is no longer loud because it doesn't need to be. It whispers, but that whisper reaches places inside others that shouting never could. It doesn't beg to be seen. It sees. It doesn't seduce through spectacle. It opens through reverence. You are no longer trying to impress anyone. You're presenting the fullness of who you are, and letting that be the gate through which only the aligned may walk. And women walk through it, not because you pulled them in, but because your presence called something alive in them. Your energy has stopped being about getting attention and has become an invitation to return to authenticity. Around you, the walls fall. Around you, they speak in their real voice. Around you, they don't pretend because they don't need to. You are no longer a storm. You are a clearing. No longer a chase, you are a home. The sacred invitation you now carry cannot be taught. It must be lived. And you are living it. You are no longer concerned with being wanted. You are now creating a life where only those who can honor what you offer are allowed close. Not from bitterness, not from pride, but from sacred self-honor. You do not demand devotion, you inspire it. You do not expect surrender. You make it safe to happen. This invitation is not transactional. It's transformational. Those who come near you don't leave the same. Not because you try to change them, but because you offer a mirror that reflects who they could be if they too stepped into truth. You are no longer an option. You are the opportunity to remember something real. And those who walk through that sacred gate you now carry will never forget the way it felt to be fully accepted without being asked to perform. Because that is what you've become. Not just a man of attraction. A man of invitation. And only those who are ready for truth will walk with you now. Chosen one, by now you've begun to sense the deeper harmony unfolding around you. It's no longer just about being accepted. It's about becoming the balancing force in the lives of those you meet, especially women. Your high sexual energy, once misunderstood or misdirected, now vibrates in perfect rhythm with your grounded masculine essence. That balance doesn't scream or sparkle. It resonates, and it shifts the entire atmosphere of any space you walk into. You've become more than magnetic, you've become centered. And in your center, others find themselves recalibrated. Women step into your orbit and suddenly feel safer, more whole, more seen. Not because you did something flashy, but because your energy no longer moves from lack. It moves from overflow. You are not here to chase what is missing. You are here to offer what's remembered. That remembrance is key. Around you, people remember how it feels to be listened to without being judged, to be seen without having to perform, to be desired without being used. You've become the rare man who can hold tension without fear and stillness without emptiness. Your presence is neither soft nor hard, it is true, and the feminine instinctively relaxes in the presence of truth. Your energy doesn't overpower, it aligns. You don't interrupt the melody, they adjust their pitch to match yours. You are not demanding a response, you are inviting coherence. That's why they don't just like being around you, they need it. Not for ego, not for validation, but for balance. Because your energy, your gaze, your words, your silence offers a quiet, unshakable foundation. You've become the ground where chaos dissolves and clarity emerges. This harmonizing presence isn't taught, it's earned through fire, through refinement, through every moment you chose integrity over performance, through every time you walked away from what was loud but misaligned in favor of what was quiet but true. And now you no longer seek to be accepted. You've become the measure by which others recognize what real acceptance feels like. This is the final stage, chosen one. Not a finish line, but a revelation. You are no longer the man others second guess. You are no longer the mystery they dismiss. You are no longer the desire they trivialize. You've become something they reverence, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Because your high sexual energy, when paired with your truth, has made you the standard. You are now the example that shifts perspectives. The man who no longer has to ask for respect because he walks in it. The man who doesn't chase love because love shows up where he plants himself. The man who doesn't raise his voice to be heard because silence now works in his favor. There is no longer resistance when you speak. There is weight, and that weight isn't heavy. It's earned. Women feel this evolution in their bones. They recognize that you are no longer looking for permission to lead or speak or exist in your full power. You've become the permission. You've become the embodied permission for others to rise into their authenticity, not through manipulation, but through magnetism. Your presence says, "Come as you are," but your energy says, "Only truth will remain." And so you attract what's real. The distractions fall away, the surface-level invitations fade, but the depth comes forward. Now, the only women who remain in your space are those who can meet your frequency, who don't just want your attention, they respect your essence, who don't just find you desirable, but find you directional. And that is the difference. You are no longer just a man with energy, you are a man with direction. A man who knows where he's going and refuses to be rerouted by flattery or performance. You are no longer lost in the maze of external validation. You've built your own foundation, and others now build around you. You've become the standard not because you demanded it, but because you lived it. And now that you live it, acceptance follows you like a shadow, not because you asked for it, because you are finally walking in the fullness of who you were born to be. The chosen one, unapologetic, undeniable, unshakable. Chosen one, everything you have become, your clarity, your groundedness, your discipline, your ability to hold space without demand, has not gone unnoticed. Women feel it, men sense it, the world responds to it. But what you may not always realize is just how many are watching you, not to test you, not to critique you, but to learn from you. You've become an example, whether you intended to or not. And when a man like you rises, others begin to ask, what is possible within themselves? You empower not by standing on a stage or shouting your truth. You empower by living it. By being the kind of man who does not betray himself to be liked. by walking through a room without diminishing your energy or overinflating it, by smiling from your core instead of your ego, by listening before speaking and speaking only when your words are clean and your intentions are real. This quiet way of being teaches others more than hours of speaking ever could. Women notice not just how you treat them, but how you treat yourself. When you carry yourself with care, when you protect your peace, when you walk away from what doesn't honor your soul, you send a message. I value myself too much to be pulled into anything that isn't aligned with my purpose. That message doesn't go unnoticed. It ripples outward. It becomes something others begin to model, even if they can't fully explain why. Your example is the spark that others gather around to remember their own fire. You empower by showing restraint, not because you lack options, but because you have discernment. You empower by leading with compassion, not because you seek admiration, but because you choose peace over performance. You empower by being fully masculine and fully present, not caught between the desire to dominate or disappear, but firmly rooted in a space where depth and direction meet. That space, chosen one, is what others begin to see as possible for themselves. For women especially, this level of presence gives them permission to be soft without fear, to speak without armor, to explore without judgment. They see in you what a man can be when he doesn't just chase sensation but becomes sovereign in it. You are not there to complete anyone, but your presence completes a moment so powerfully it becomes medicine. And that medicine reaches further than you'll ever know. You may never hear the words, but someone will go home changed after encountering you. Someone will write differently, love differently, lead differently, because you reminded them of what it looks like when a man walks with his energy anchored in his soul. This is what legacy looks like, not carved in marble or echoed through applause, but woven silently through the lives you touch just by being in your truth. You don't need to push. You don't need to prove. You only need to continue, living as a man who is free, who is clear, and who no longer waits for the world to tell him who he is. Let your example speak. Let it challenge. Let it empower. Because someone, somewhere, is waiting for a man like you to show them that it's still possible to walk with honor and still be whole. Chosen one, now that you've embodied your energy and refined your influence, you must face one final question. Not asked in words, but whispered deep within your spirit. What will you leave behind? The legacy of a man is not built from how many hearts he touched in passing, but how many lives he awakened through presence. It is not in how many followed him, but in how many found their own way because he walked his path with clarity. It is not measured in the noise he made, but in the light he left behind. And you, chosen one, are walking the path of light, because you've chosen to live truthfully. That truth lives in how you move, in how you treat those who can offer you nothing, in how you speak when there is nothing to gain. It lives in how you respond to desire, in how you honor the vulnerability others show you, and in how you maintain your integrity when no one is watching. That truth becomes your vibration. That vibration becomes your impact. That impact becomes your legacy. Your legacy is the woman who remembers how you made her feel safe without ever asking for her body. It's the friend who took a risk in life because your confidence reminded him of his own. It's the stranger who watched you speak with calm and chose to slow down for the first time in years. It's the community of people who felt, even for a moment, what it looks like when one man lives fully in his masculine energy without using it to dominate or divide. You do not have to be famous to leave a mark. You do not have to be the loudest voice in the room. You only have to be real, consistently, steadily, willingly, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because in those moments, when you choose to smile from your truth, to stand without shame, to act without ego, you etch something eternal into the hearts around you. Your high sexual energy, now infused with reverence and restraint, becomes a current of remembrance. It reminds people of what is possible when desire is disciplined, when attraction is aligned, when presence is purpose. It awakens something primal, yes, but also something holy. That fusion is rare, and that rarity is what makes you unforgettable. Your legacy, chosen one, is not about being remembered by name. It is about being remembered by feeling. The feeling of peace in your presence, the feeling of truth in your touch, the feeling of strength without fear. And most of all, the feeling of light, a light that didn't come from perfection, but from choosing again and again to live as the highest version of yourself. So carry that light, even in your quiet moments. Carry it in the way you breathe, the way you listen, the way you walk through the world with an open heart and a steady spine. You are no longer becoming. You are. And that chosen one is your legacy, a legacy not written in stone, but in soul. This balance extends to your relationships. As women approach you with reverence, admiration, even devotion, you must respond not from entitlement, but from discernment. Not everyone who bows before you belongs in your inner circle.